Yo, what up? This is D Knight, and you're listening to the Pardon the Insurrection podcast. My oh my, we've had so much going on. For starters, in case you missed it, we've got a new addition to the Pardon Pie family, Tara Dublin. Make sure you go follow her on Twitter at Tara Dublin Rocks. Also, pick up a copy of her book while you're at it. Make her day, The Sound of Settling. A very fun and interesting read compared to the things we talk about on this podcast. But yeah, we're heading toward the do or die time for the 2024 election. Go ahead and hit up joebiden.com. Get that man like $1 a month or something. Help his campaign staff up and get prepared to try and save our democracy. And make sure to grab like one other person you know and tell them about the podcast. Make sure they subscribe and tune in every single week. We got a lot of things coming up for you this year. We need all the support that we can get. So if you do your part and help us grow our audience, we'll do our part and help elect Joe Biden in 2024 and save American democracy. And this is the Pardon the Insurrection podcast.
She likes the pina coladas and watching Trump get arraigned. FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago. Trump's lawyers have half a brain. Fox News will lose $1 billion. Cause Tucker Carlson's insane. Proud Boys are standing by for prison. Indictments pouring like rain.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey, this is D Knight.
This is Carol. Womp womp.
And Ty is busy making Matt Walsh's life a miserable nightmare.
Oh, no. I think you got it. That's causation versus correlation. She is there and his life is a miserable shithole. So there you go.
And you're
listening to Pardon the Insurrection podcast.
This episode of Pardon the Insurrection is brought to you by Sheets and Giggles. The CEO, Colin, supports presidents who don't get indicted. So if you want to buy sheets from insurrectionists, you can buy crappy pillows from Mike Lindell. But if you want to support democracy, please purchase some amazingly soft sheets, pillows, or mattresses from Sheets and Giggles. Again, I can't describe the quality of said sheets, but I hear they're fantastic because Colin has yet to send us
We're waiting
sheets.
for our sheets.
Trust me, if you pay for your sheets, you'll get them in an expedient fashion. Anyway.
Yeah, but we haven't, so we're just gonna giggle about it. Ha 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 ha. Sheets and giggles.
Happy Arrestmas, everyone. Arrestmas for the rest of us, as George Costanza would say.
Arraignment day, etc., etc. Okay.
I thought there was more to the song than that. Like,
there
where's the
was,
rest
but
of
it's already recorded from when you went away before and I started singing dumb shit.
Oh, so I'll have to like go back and edit this. Okay, great. That's good to know.
You don't have to. I don't care. I don't remember the song I made up.
Look, I gotta admit, I'll admit off the bat, I've had a couple drinks too many already. So if I don't make any sense during this podcast, you'll know what had happened. What had happened was alcohol. Drink in moderation, people. Drink responsibly. But so anyone listening to this podcast, if you were caught unawares, today was Arraignment Day. And if you don't know what I mean by Arraignment Day, again, it's like the first time in the history a former president of the United States was basically arrested. And he pled not guilty, even though we all know that to be a lie. If anyone's listening to this podcast and like you don't know the details of these particular charges already, look, I don't know what to tell you. The dude lied on his financial statements about some payments that were made to a porn star that he had a tryst with, as opposed to having those paid through his personal finances. I mean, he basically covered up an affair that probably would have tanked his campaign at the time in 2016. And that's the nature of these charges. I mean, whoop-de-doo. It doesn't sound like a big deal, right? Well, you be fucking wrong. It's a humongous fucking deal. Oh, holy shit, man. Oh, the people who are trying to downplay this, I'm like, just imagine if like President Biden had the Biden organization, funnel, funds through his personal lawyer. And again, like, we don't even know who Biden's lawyers are to pay off.
Well, I wonder why that is. It's almost as though he's not being sued left and right and not embroiled in all sorts of legal battles.
And not going on like massive crime sprees through the course of his presidency. Yeah.
So he certainly isn't being indicted for anything.
Like, imagine if the Biden organization had been like laundering funds through his company to pay off, Jada Fire, to keep her quiet as about a tryst that they had so as to not tank his election. That'd be a huge fucking deal.
Now that's just a hypothetical, right? You're not making any damaging accusations about the president, right?
Okay, look, we can all be honest with ourselves. Like, you've all seen Jill Biden's booty, so you know what kind of girls he's into. Anyway, yeah. So
anyway, so yes,
so sorry.
the actual body of the indictment itself. Dee said that everyone's already heard all the legal analysis, and I don't really have any of the indictment itself. It has the 34 counts. Hold on.
34 felony counts, mainly
all of falsifying business documents. And
yes.
If you actually read the indictment, it's here. I will read one count. And the grand jury aforesaid by this indictment further accuses the defendant of the crime of falsifying business records in the first degree in violation of Penal Law 175.1. I don't know how those are, how you read those out loud.
Honey,
even
please
though I went to law school.
Don't read
Committed
the
as
actual
follows.
fucking statutes.
It's not a statute. Oh, yes, it is. I mean, I wasn't going to read the statute. You meant the name of the statute.
Yes, don't read the name of the statute.
I don't have the law books open. The defendant in the county of New York and elsewhere on or about February 14th, 2017. Oh, Valentine's Day, with the intent to defraud and the intent to commit another crime and aid in and conceal the commission thereof, made and caused a false entry into the business record of an enterprise, to wit, an entry in the detailed general ledger for Donald J. Trump Revocable Trust, bearing voucher number 842460, and kept and maintained by the Trump Organization. So there are 33 others of these that say something very similar. Some of them mention Michael Cohen as that the instrument, the financial instrument, was in the form of an invoice from Michael Cohen or other payments made to or from him. So it goes on. It just lists like check numbers, essentially. It lists 34 check numbers, and each of them is a separate felony charge.
Right.
Related to Stormy Daniels payments and possibly some other women that I'm just hearing about today.
Yeah, there are some other payments funneled through David Pecker's, I guess you can call it a media outlet, that involve payments to Stephanie Clifford to keep an affair with her quiet, and also a payment to the doorman involving an unspecified child that Donald Trump supposedly fathered with like the nanny or something. People out there have been saying that
his doorman?
Yes, his doorman. There are some people out there speculating as to the name, the person that Donald Trump fathered out of wedlock, and they have mentioned Van Jones. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Jones.
Like allegedly.
Reckless speculation. Van Jones. Oh, shut up.
You just remembered who Van Jones is.
Yes. The joke is that Van Jones is. If anyone misses the joke,
I'm editing that out. I'm not going to tell them. Yes, please. Anyone out here listening, if you don't know who Van Jones is, just hit the Google machine, bring that up, type in Van Jones, click enter, and see what comes up. That'll be a pleasant surprise and a shock.
It's someone who's definitely probably Trump's son.
No, the joke is that Van Jones, pretends to be some kind of I don't know, liberal spokesperson for I don't want to say that he is a spokesperson for black people, but that's like the mantle he's assumed for himself. But yet he is regularly defending Trump and like was collaborating with Trump while he was in office anyway. That's the joke. That is the joke there.
That's the joke.
Yeah, I'm assuming everyone who's listening to this has already popped their champagne and they're like knee deep in alcohol. Y'all lit AF, right? After watching that Trump perp walk, that was fantastic. I don't think I've ever seen a more delightful sight. Carol also hasn't seen a more delightful sight, and you know she's got a couple of wonderful kids.
Yes, but the loveliest sight of all was apparently this thing that I totally watched. I mean, it was funny to see the door slam in his face.
Yeah, we missed out on like the mug shot, but you know, Trump didn't waste any time, or at least rather his 2024 presidential campaign didn't waste any time printing up t-shirts of a fake mug shot of Trump holding up a name tag of, you know, President 45/47 because he doesn't know the way presidents work. I guess he imagines that if he is reelected in 24, he'll be the 47th president. Carol.
Yeah, I mean that's
Look at
ridiculous.
you.
I'm sorry. I'm not commenting.
The look on your face, you're like, he can't possibly be that. Yeah, he's that fucking stupid. Yep, happy times. But yeah, look.
Yeah, he's going to be a different guy that time. So he can.
Look. So if you want like unending legal analysis, you have like, you know, 12 straight hours of MSNBC for that. I guess like we can get into maybe a couple of key points, key takeaways from this. I think one of the major takeaways is that these charges against
his ass
Trump
is going to prison.
Well, okay, that
Maybe not for this.
We actually don't know whether or not Trump will go to prison. We'll get to that in a second. But first of all, so these counts of falsifying records generally are charged as a misdemeanor unless they're basically in furtherance of covering up another crime. And one of the underlying crimes in this particular instance, Bragg has assessed to be influencing the 2016 election. And one of the arguments Trump's team is probably going to make is that Trump wasn't making these payments to cover up necessarily anything that might be damaging to the election, but was trying to hide it from his wife, Melania. Well, the two problems with that seem to be that Melania was already aware. And then two, there's documented evidence that Trump basically told Michael Cohen to delay paying off Stormy Daniels as long as possible, because if he could delay it until after the election, that they wouldn't have to pay her because he wouldn't care if she went public at that point or not.
Oh my God. So yeah, I can't wait to
Carol,
see the actual briefs.
Yeah, Carol, were you unaware of that information? Yeah, that's fun times. Yeah, so it's probably going to be fairly difficult to argue that the payments weren't election related when, you know, that's something that's on the record.
And you know what else will make it difficult to argue is that his attorneys are hacks.
Well, that's another issue. So one of Trump's attorneys on this matter, Tacopina, which he probably, you know, we assume he's likely to call Tapioca. Well, first of all, Tapioca has some, I'm calling him Tapioca. Tacopina has some conflict of interest in issues, because it seems that back in 2016, or it might have even been 2017, I can't remember the date off the top of my head. It appears Stormy Daniels had contacted his law firm seeking some representation in this particular matter, and may or may not have gotten to the point where an attorney-client privilege agreement was established. Well, rather, attorney-client privilege was established between the two of them, and
right. They would have to decide whether the information that he had learned from Stormy Daniels, whatever brief period they had of intake of consideration for using him as the attorney, It would have to be minimal enough or not relevant enough to the case. And it seems like it's the same case. So it sounds like a conflict, but there's lots of those sorts of factors that go into determining whether something is a conflict. The other party here, Stormy, could have waived the conflict. But a lot of the time it's not required. Here it seems like it should have been, huh? What do you think?
Right. Well, yeah, look, first of all, it's Stormy's privilege to waive. Like Tacopina can't waive that privilege for her. I guess I don't know. This will be sorted out in court. Obviously, he won't be able to. If Stormy's called as a witness, he won't be able to cross-examine her. But also, I mean, to be in fairness to Trump, I know that's that's probably a tough thing for anyone to swallow who wants to be fair to this motherfucker, considering all the problems he's caused. But in fairness to Trump, Trump also deserves representation that isn't subject to a conflict of interest as well. So he should also have the opportunity to waive Tacopina. Obviously, he won't. Like, I'm sure that the only reason he hired Tacopina in the first place is because he believed Tacopina had some like inside information about Stormy Daniels, thanks to their relationship as her attorney.
It's just like if he ever wants to work again in the legal profession, he's not going to divulge her information. I get it. It still seems like a conflict. And a lot of the thing about conflicts and ethics laws in general is it's the language they use is the impropriety or the appearance of impropriety. So it's not just like if something's wrong, it's like just making it seem like something's wrong is like enough for would a reasonable person be able to infer just from the appearance of these matters that Tacopina had a conflict of interest? But apart from that, one of the other issues Trump is going to have, because these, generally speaking, misdemeanor charges were elevated to a felony, is that Bragg also mentioned like the tax implications. We don't have to get knee deep into that, but Trump repaid Michael Cohen through his organization and basically grossed up the payments to account for whatever taxes Cohen would incur. Like, I mean, it becomes tax fraud at that point. So he's going to have to deal with that issue. And I guess the third issue, oh my God, what was the other one? I've totally forgotten. Well, it's not that fucking important. The most important aspect of all this is lock him up, lock his ass up. Yeah. Well, what's the third thing? Yes, lock him up. Well, he's got lots of shit going on. Yeah, let's get to the Schadenfreude part, because I feel like that won the survey. It was fun when people were like, "We're gonna come to New York and we're gonna stand up for Donald J. Trump," and then they got there and everyone was like, "Fuck you, Marge," and then she was like, "The people of New York are communist beasts. They're so communist that they all pay for $4,000 a month 1-bedroom apartments from their jobs at Goldman Sachs." Like, communists.
Yeah, so the only two prominent elected Republican officials who showed up in New York today to protest the arraignment of one Donald J. Trump were, you guessed it, Marjorie Taylor Greene and George Santos. I mean, that actually kind of speaks for itself.
I think Tuckham's son was there.
Yeah, well, he's not important. No one gives a fuck.
I know. I just like making fun of him.
Yeah.
I won't say his name and give him the
well, so
satisfaction.
Marge showed up to cause a ruckus and stir the fucking pot. But basically she showed up in New York to suck Trump off, and much like Stormy Daniels, it only lasted a couple of minutes.
Well, they drowned that bitch out. And I'm sorry, I don't like to call other women that, but
no, it's okay.
She tried to dismantle my society, and like it would have ended in disastrous consequences for like everyone I love. So, fuck her.
Okay, here's the thing, Carol. You know how like I guess this will make it sound a little more fair. You know how there's like the stereotype when women are like, all men are dogs, and you're like, not every man is a dog. Not that we need to defend men because men be fucking up, but But some men are actually dogs. So it's like, in some cases, it's fair. Well, it's the same thing with Marjorie Green. In some cases, bitches do exist. So don't feel bad about using derogatory language in reference to Marjorie Green. You'd be accurate. You're doing a better journalistic endeavor, a more accurate and journalistic endeavor than Leslie Stahl was. So pat yourself on the back. You should be on 60 Minutes. Yeah. So that
she can have 1 minute. I will do 1 minute with her. Well, immediate. No, I guess I would need more than one.
It should have been her. Yeah, it should have been 1 minute of Marjorie Green and then 59 minutes.
I would have said bitch too many times, and people would have been like, "You, this vulgar Jew."
That's okay. 60 minutes ratings. It felt like 33% or something, thanks to that episode. So they kind of got what they were asking for, or at least they got what they deserved. Yep. So fuck Marge, George Santos. I mean, like, I think we did like so many episodes of the podcast on how fake and fraudulent that fucker is. Like, of course he showed up to defend Trump. Like, they're, two of a kind. Well,
it's funnier for him because, like, she must have expected this to a certain extent. Maybe she was planning on it. I don't know, to rile up her base. Like, oh, they were so mean to me. Anyway, she probably knew this would happen because she was like, I am going to peacefully protest using my voice. And then she'll be like, they suppressed my voice, my First Amendment rights.
Okay, well, here's the funny part about that. Like, the guy who drowned her out by passing around all the whistles, he was Republican and he didn't even know she was going to be there.
That's really funny. The whistles were just to celebrate.
God, yeah, I mean, the whistles were to protest Trump's arraignment, but they also ended up drowning out Marjorie Green. So there you go. Stabbed in the back by her own.
Well, also you had Jamal Bowman there just screaming at her.
Oh, that was also fantastic. Yeah, he kind of lit into her ass, and deservedly so. And then he was like, while you're at it, like, pass some gun control legislation, which I thought was fitting. Given what's happening here.
I just like that he yelled at it's a video, you can't really see him.
No, but you can hear him clearly.
For those videos, and he says, this is Congressman Jamal Bowman. I'm like, oh, that's who was yelling.
Oh, no, it's going to be in his 2024 campaign ad for sure. Like, he's holding down the fort. And if I, lived in his district, I would vote for him. I'd vote for him. Yeah, party time. Let's see what else we got going on here in this, the main takeaways from all this shit. So look,
what? He was allowed to go back to Florida? Some bullshit.
Well, yeah, he went back to Florida and then he immediately held a press conference where he ranted and raved about some more insane shit. I won't get into like, no one needs to hear the things that he said, like, repeated. He's begging for a gag order at this point.
And I guess never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake.
Totally fair.
That's the expression.
But the last time he was gagged, it ended up costing him $130,000, and then he ended up in a prison and he was about to lose his freedom. Yeah, party time. Yeah, don't go Googling up that Trump press conference for today. It's insane. It's not worth your time. But one of the things I get, one of the few noteworthy comments Trump made from that debacle was the admission that he's under investigation for espionage. So he could possibly be facing the death penalty if he's indicted and convicted on that charge by Jack Smith. So fun times.
Didn't he bring back death by firing squad?
Yeah, that was one of the little things him and Bill Barr cooked up in their last few months in office after the 2020 election. The Department of Justice co-signed, death by hanging / firing squad. So he brought it back.
I love how his supporters can see decisions like that and be like, things were about to go really uphill from here. Like making executing your political enemies legal is like a really good sign. I'm so glad I voted for this guy.
Well, as you want to notice at this point, like, Trump is very keen on making decisions that come back to bite him in the ass. One such decision, and this is really funny, is the decision to have Bill Barr kill the SDNY investigation into these payments, because if Trump had been charged federally, he could have, pardoned himself, or say if someone, if a Republican wins the presidency back in 2024, they could issue a federal pardon to Trump. But no, he had Bill Barr had SDI basically kill off the investigation in their department, and that left it to Bragg to bring those charges here this week. So if he's convicted in Manhattan, those are state crimes. They are not pardonable by a president of the United States. So he fucked himself yet again. I'm not an expert on game theory, but there's like some general principles involved in like gaming out the potential consequences of these scenarios. And that was a pretty fucking obvious one that like no one had considered. Like, well, what if he's not charged by the Department of Justice and is instead, charged by a state or local government? Then what the fuck is Trump supposed to do? These are questions no one in the White House bothered to ask themselves because they just don't think this shit through. But yeah, congratulations, guys. That's what you get for obstructing an investigation. Then you got charges this motherfucker can't escape from.
Yeah, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, as they say.
It couldn't happen to a nicer insurrectionist. So another insane thing that happened post arraignment, Don Jr. posting pictures of the judge's daughter on Untruth Social. Carol, they're begging to be gagged.
As they often do, I'm sure. Let's ask Kim. Let's call Kim right now. I'm sure she has nothing better to do. Certainly not Junior. Hand-picked Democrat show trial. The BS never ends, folks. Daughter of judge on Trump case worked on Biden-Harris campaign.
Yeah, no one's been begged to be gagged like this since 50 Shades of Grey. They're really asking for it. I just don't understand. I mean, I guess like I could
step in and help that girl file a protective order.
If the judge has to give a protective order,
I guess she already knows the judge, so never mind.
Yeah, I don't think she even has to ask. The judge will probably take this into his own hands. I mean, these people are insane. I mean, obviously the intent here is to incite some level of violence and intimidate the judge, but I don't think this is the way to go about it for a couple of reasons. One, largely because Trump's followers think that like any incitement to violence is an op, but it's Trump and his family doing the incitement. So that would logically infer that Trump is part of the op, but they don't ever, like, again, game theory here, people, like, just take it to the next logical conclusion. Like, I don't know. But the other issue is like, I guess Trump thinks it's very clever of him to not do the dirty work himself. It's very mob family-ish. Have your son out here, basically threatening the judge and his family. I mean, this is.
Well, now they can add, intimidation and all this shit to the list.
Yeah. I mean,
just keep trying, keep helping us out.
They're potentially asking for more criminal charges here. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Okay, I shouldn't say helping us out. I don't want like some innocent girl to be threatened.
No, I mean,
but he's not helping himself. Let's say that.
No, he's definitely not helping himself here. I mean, I guess the point is to intimidate. Look, man, y'all watch these fucking, NCIS or The Wire and shit where they're like people are trying to intimidate the jury or the judge or whatever the fuck. Like, this is clear behavior in line with like some TV show type shit. Just it's bad business. It's literally Breaking Bad.
Yeah. Did any member? So we're speaking about his kids. Were any of them at the arraignment by his side?
Well,
did any of them show up?
for his kids that have been there, that would like have to imply in some way, shape, form, or fashion that Trump actually loves them, which I, can't necessarily speak to.
No, but you've seen Arrested Development, right? Where they're like, it's the arraignment. We have to look like a loving family for 7 minutes.
Well,
10.
Trump's family couldn't even pull that off because, I have a question for you, audience.
They weren't there.
Can any of you answer this question? Where was Melania?
Or maybe Eric was there. Was Eric there?
I
He's
don't
just not on this list of nobody who was there.
I believe so.
No, just nobody cares enough to list him.
Well, you're thinking of the other Trump. Not Ivanka, not Eric, not Don Jr., but the other one.
No, Tiffany's on the list.
Oh, she was there? Well, that's very
No,
surprising.
the list of people who were not there.
Oh, okay, got you. Yeah, at least they bothered to list her. It's nice of her to finally be included in something. Yeah, so clearly Trump is having some marital issues. His wife isn't there to support him in this most difficult of times, and I'm taking absolute joy and pleasure in it's out of this. It's fantastic. I will imagine the reason that they haven't divorced yet is because, like, as long as they're married, law enforcement can't force her to testify against her husband. It's a marriage of it's a marriage of literal legal convenience. Oh, it's so good.
It's probably also because, she wants the money. She knows there's not much to gain in a divorce.
I mean, what money?
Yeah, right. Well, but she's still, I don't know. So she'd have to get a job. She doesn't have a job. The grift money, I guess. She still gets to live at Mar-a-Lago and be waited on with the staff.
I'm sure she could pull off an OnlyFans. She doesn't necessarily. You know what? I'm not going to denigrate Melania over her looks. So let me just pause.
There's nothing wrong with suggesting that, but unless you meant it to be denigrating, D. No, I think we should move on.
Well, look, she still has the.
I think we should move on.
I'm not going to denigrate Melania. She still has the breasticles for an OnlyFans. She paid top dollar for those, and they still seem to be in working condition. Or at least my evidence from that is from when she was first lady in her braless appearances. Anyway, no one wants to hear about first lady tits, I guess. I mean, look, I've already talked about.
I mean, you never know. I remember back in the 90s, there was a website called Hillary'sHair.com.
No,
there was, and it would just be whatever her most recent hairstyle was, and it was like a blog format. Basically, it would just be like pictures of her hairstyles. Really? Yeah. I didn't regularly look at it, but it was like one of the only websites at the time that I knew about. So I was like, a website.
I will admit, Hillary was pretty fine back in the day. I see what Bill was thinking.
I mean, she's also intimidatingly smart, smarter than him.
Oh, absolutely. She's only slightly less compelling than him, but that's because, he has
a penis.
No.
And an accent.
No. Well, maybe. I don't know. He is notoriously famous for being extremely charming and captivating and whatnot. Hillary only losing out slightly in that department. I like Hillary. I was I don't know. I wasn't a huge Bill Clinton fan back in the 90s, but I was also a teenager. Right. So I've been, I don't know. I feel like I've been more inclined to, I don't know.
I liked Bill Clinton as also a teenager, but I was a white teenager. I don't know if that made a difference. Probably.
Yeah, but I paid more attention to politics as an adult than I did as a teen. And so Hillary was more in the forefront in that department after they left office than Bill was. So there is that.
Oh, you mean you didn't actively like him, but you didn't dislike him necessarily?
Yeah.
You didn't have much of an opinion?
He was cool.
Well, I guess I don't say fan because having fandom of political candidates and
yes, it's not like a sports team where you're like putting on a jersey. I'm just saying, like, as an individual.
Well, not if you're a Democrat.
Yeah, because we're not in a cult. Nah, Bill was fine. He was okay. And look, I don't want to like relitigate the Clinton administration. Like, bro,
Yeah, that's fine.
It's 2023 and Trump's going to prison. Let's focus on the most important aspects here.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see where the New York case goes, but it seems like, I don't know, the bits and pieces lately tell me that, I mean, Fani Willis is probably pretty close to being ready to indict Trump in Georgia in Fulton County on the election interference charges. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think these things seem to be coming in. I don't want to. Last time I made a coming in joke, I need to think of one that isn't also the name of a movie franchise.
If you want to make a coming in joke, I mean, Stormy Daniels is right there. So look, Fani Willis is kind of on. Well, she's not even working on her own timeline. The Georgia legislature signed off on a bill that would allow them to remove any state or local prosecutor not doing what they want them to do. So it basically gives them the power to use their political powers to punish prosecutors that go after Republicans. So she could potentially be removed from office if this bill hits the governor's desk. He signs it and they put a board together to review whatever it is. We'll basically review her investigation and short circuit these charges that are coming against Trump and others involved in that particular conspiracy. So she's got a limited amount of time.
Well, let's see. David Kemp probably feels pretty good about his odds in those cases.
Yeah, given that he was a witness, I mean, I'm not entirely certain he will actually sign off on that legislation. It might be good for, his political.
He probably wants Trump out of the way.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
He keeps getting him threatened, and he's a total monster too, Brian Kemp. But like, but based on his own self-interest,
yes,
he would not be subject to those prosecutions probably. And he has a vested interest in getting those people out of the way who are, because they keep fucking threatening him.
Right. Yeah, it's probably in Kim's interest that these fuckers face some charges. Like, it's possible that they could take his, future political ambitions if they're not out of the way. So who knows? But so apart from that, one of the other issues Willis is dealing with is there's basically a running clock on the grand jury as well. So I think they're impaneled until the end of April. It might be May sometime. So she's got, another month or so.
Yeah. Remember last time when we thought that the grand jury was no longer impaneled and then we found out that they were? That was fun. So
every time.
Apparently means nothing. But the deadline the unspoken deadline is important. She's working. And I think that, Jack Smith seems to be moving at an aggressive pace as well.
Okay, man, this might be actually
too much.
No.
What's up?
So of all the things, all the criminal liability that's heading Trump's direction, of course, he's been arraigned in Manhattan, but given the way New York's court systems work, he'll have plenty of opportunity to delay this well into 2024, if not potentially a trial in 2025 after the election. If he's indicted by the special counsel, federal court, it moves a lot faster. I mean, generally, I assume that because the charges will be stemming from espionage related crimes, that he'll be charged in DC, and DC is famous for the expediency for which its federal courts move. I guess you could say it's affectionately known or referred to as the rocket docket. And so if Trump is charged in the near future by special counsel Jack Smith's office, even if that's the latest of the 3 jurisdictions to charge Trump, it might be the first place in which he is tried. So again, something to look forward to. I know this episode was supposed to be more shadow and fraud than legal analysis, given that I'm not a lawyer, but here we are.
And I'm a lawyer, but I'm not competent to analyze litigation stuff. And,
Carol, don't tell them what kind of lawyer you are. They don't need to know. It's not important.
I didn't say what kind of lawyer I was.
Lawyers are all the same. Yeah.
I run a hair salon and cut hair and listen to people's problems and give legal advice.
Well,
I don't, but I always wanted to do that instead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so there are some fun developments in Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation, by the way. So,
what are those developments?
One of the things that one of the leads that got buried today, thanks to the media's obsession finally with Trump's criminal activity. It only took 34 felony counts for the media to care about something as much as they cared about Hillary's emails. So the DC Circuit Court of Appeals today denied Trump's motion to block the testimony of Mark Meadows, Dan Scavino, Luna, McAtee, Cuccinelli, Stephen Miller, and others from testifying about 1/6 to Jack Smith's grand jury. I assume that Trump will appeal that, but that appeal will probably also be denied very soon. And I seriously doubt the Supreme Court will take that up. So all of those individuals closely associated with Trump who were intimately familiar with what Trump was planning for 1/6, they about to have to spill the fucking beans, yo. And I'm absolutely sure Mark Meadows will probably, again, no one's more intimately familiar with, Trump's plot on 1/6 than Mark Meadows, his former chief of staff. I'm sure he will be claiming, invoking his Fifth Amendment privilege to not incriminate himself.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to get too much out of Mark Meadows, I'm sure, because he doesn't really have a lot to gain. I don't think they're going to knock much time off of his sentence.
I don't know. Look, if Mark...
He could get some leniency, but I don't think he's like off the hook. So he still thinks his best chance is to keep his mouth shut and or lie.
It depends. Look, so we don't know what potential charges he'd be facing in the 1/6 investigation. I imagine that Mark Meadows, just from looking at him, he doesn't seem like the type of individual who wants to spend any time in prison.
Dude, anything that Trump is charged for, basically for January 6th, Mark Meadows will be charged for as a co-conspirator.
Right. Well, that's the thing, General.
So all of the charges.
But Meadows won't testify against Trump without a cooperation agreement, I'm sure. But we'd also have to have some idea of what it is specifically that Meadows would be charged with versus what lesser charges he would plead to in agreement to cooperate against Trump, and whether it would be worth it for Meadows to take the risk of being indicted as a co-conspirator versus cooperating. I don't know.
You know what I just thought of, which would be like the ultimate poetic justice, is Trump getting convicted for the death of Ashley Babbitt. I was just thinking about the felony murder rule. And felony, I forget what the rule is called, but it's like once
you're involved in the commission of a felony, if someone happens to be lose their life, whether it was by your hand or otherwise, you are held criminally.
Right, that's the felony murder.
That's how felony murder.
Yeah, that'd just be sorry. I got off into wild speculation in my own head about the kinds of charges, and they included felony murder charges for the people who died in the insurrection. In my head.
All right, we've got too seriously here, Carol. We need to celebrate. Show us your titties.
That wasn't serious.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh no, the screen is just too low.
Okay, I was kidding. Carol lifted up her shirt, but her anyway, it's not important. It was off screen. No,
it is important at this point because now you only told the first part, not the second part that my camera is pointed too high for you to see anything.